These channeling sessions seem to create a bit of a disturbance in the electronics we use to produce the show. Nonetheless, we hope the quality of the information makes up for the lack of quality with the sound. Some of the topics covered today are perception, gratitude, detachment, living with integrity, the value of remaining open to new ideas, a discussion of a Marcus Aurelius quote about happiness, and a final message. Enjoy.
What happens when one recognizes the power of perception?
It is said that perception is reality. What may be an event that is, or a circumstance that is tragic or difficult for one person from their perspective can be an entirely different matter to someone else also observing or experiencing that same circumstance. In the moment that you become consciously aware of how it is you are perceiving something, you also have in that moment the power of your free will choice to change how it is you will process that event or circumstance. That is the power of changing your perception on a matter, whatever that matter may be. How you respond, and notice we said respond, not react, to an event or a circumstance is most oftentimes based on how you perceive it impacts your life in the first place. If you are able to walk through your life with the understanding that you are here as a soul incarnated to learn lessons, and that your perception is always going to be seeking the lesson embodied in every experience, you can accelerate your growth because you do not allow yourself to waste time or energy wallowing in some of the denser vibrations that can be a part of an experience depending upon how you perceive that experience. So we hope this clarifies your question.
Yes, thank you. What does it mean to practice voluntary discomfort? And how can one transform and even thrive by stepping beyond the box and facing discomfort head on?
There is a tradition still prevalent in the Catholic Church, the life of self-flagellation and denial of comfort in a way to invoke or evoke a level of suffering, or as you would put it, discomfort. It can have its value. However, it can also be misused or abused in a way that actually shuts down the individual's spiritual growth. When you speak of voluntary discomfort and pushing oneself to one's limits and then just a little beyond, now that, on the other hand, can be very useful as a tactic when it comes to wanting to expand your understanding of something in any sort of a way. Oftentimes, humans get comfortable with the way things are, and it often leads to laziness, which then leads to stagnation, and therefore a lack of growth. So always allowing oneself to be even slightly experience discomfort, even slightly on a daily basis, allows you to continue to grow incrementally as you push yourself to your limit and then slightly beyond. So in the example that we have given, there are two extremes. One extreme would be the Christian who is punishing themselves to the point of not being of use to themselves, to the point of perhaps even self-abuse for the sake of abusing of the self, and that is not balanced nor beneficial. Or at the other extreme, we have an individual who has become so comfortable with their circumstances, they have become lazy and therefore less effective in their progress. They have allowed themselves to stagnate, and they are perfectly content with that circumstance. Either one of these extremes is not helpful to the growth of your soul. So we would place what you are calling voluntary discomfort as the middle path. One is moving forward, one recognizes one's current limitations, and then one consistently strives to push oneself slightly past those boundaries. This results in growth. So that would be our response.
Thank you. How can developing an attitude of gratitude reframe our experiences?
In the same way that a balanced approach to discomfort can lead to growth, gratitude, and as you said, an attitude of gratitude in and of itself brings a more consistent, elevated vibration into the field, the energy field of the person who is practicing gratitude from a place of sincerity, not simply from a place of lip service. So there must be an authentic desire here to express and experience true gratitude for everything in one's life in order for this to be beneficial. We would say that it is helpful in both elevating one's vibration or expanding it, if you prefer, and also maintaining that elevated or expanded state. Because gratitude, the vibration of gratitude, in and of itself is of a higher, more refined frequency. So running that through your energy field on a regular basis will, through the operation of sympathetic resonance, also change your vibrational set point.
Thank you. What happens when we view change as an opportunity for growth and embrace a mindset that is open to new possibilities? And how does this flexibility help us navigate life's quote-unquote uncertainties with greater ease and confidence?
Many decades ago, this one wrote a brief article entitled, "The Universal Constant is Change." If one can, and we have been speaking of perception here, a change in perspective, if one is able to allow oneself to accept the understanding, the truth of the matter is, change is the one thing in the universe that is constant. It is the one thing one can rely on. Nothing remains consistently the same. Even creation itself is the product of constant change, revision, expansion, acceleration. You are a microcosm of that macrocosm, and therefore it is impossible for you to live this life without there being change. So changing one's attitude towards the prospect of change or uncertainty to a place of perhaps curiosity, as if you were a child again, viewing something new for the first time. That curiosity that comes with, oh, I wonder what this is going to bring, or what am I going to experience? If you approach it from that perspective as opposed to fearing it or resisting it, change can be very beneficial and can bring about, again, an acceleration in your development.
Thank you. How can the concept love of fate encourage one not only to accept, but to embrace everything that happens and view it as necessary and beneficial for one's growth?
One's fate is not necessarily the same thing as predestination. Free will choice does play a role in how one's fate unfolds. There are certain aspects of each incarnation that are, as you would say, perhaps set in stone. These aspects or events or markers are things the soul has designed to explicitly experience in that incarnation, and therefore those would be what we would call predestination. Your fate is something that you can change. So therefore, we are having difficulty answering your question within the context or the framework that you gave us to respond within. Can you rephrase your question?
Basically, aside from fate and predestiny, is it safe to say that everything that happens in our lives is meant to happen and is necessary and beneficial for our growth?
We would agree with that statement if free will did not exist. Humans make choices every moment. Those choices can alter your fate. And therefore, how can one then say that everything that occurs is for my learning and my growth? Except given the understanding that as a soul I have incarnated here for my own education, we would then agree that everything that transpires carries within it a lesson or an insight or an awareness that can be gained. However, oftentimes that aspect of the experience is overlooked due to the gravity or the shock to the system that some experiences can bring. Oftentimes, the opportunity for the lesson that is there to be learned is either missed or overlooked due to the response to the situation.
That makes sense. Thank you. Can you explain how practicing detachment cultivates a healthy sense of distance from external factors and circumstances, allowing us to maintain our inner peace and resilience?
Detachment is the essence of being in this world, yet not of it. It is very easy to say, let us not be attached to the outcome. And yet it is one of the most difficult things for a human being, a soul incarnated, to accomplish. The human aspect carries with it those receptors, we would call them receptors, that magnetize to the individual, based on the individual's vibration, certain experiences. These experiences are designed to elicit responses, and therefore, unless the individual is mindful of this, it is extremely difficult to maintain detachment. However, if one is successful in practicing true detachment, that does not mean that one is not involved in what is happening. It simply means that one is not negatively impacted by what is happening. Can you understand this difference?
Yes.
So we would encourage the practice of detachment because it allows one to maintain more equilibrium. We are not advocating for withdrawal per se. We are encouraging the practice of standing in one's center, understanding one's position, and observing how a situation may be impacting our individual energy field, and taking whatever steps are needed to not allow ourselves to fall into what is more likely than not another being's creation of an experience that we are not mandated to become an active part of. We are able to participate from a distance and not allow that experience to affect us in our own personal energy field. So that is what would be recommended. Easy to say, exceedingly challenging to achieve.
True. Thank you. What happens when one tries to maintain a moral compass and live with integrity and authenticity? Can a profound sense of peace be found knowing that you are true to yourself and your principles? Can you please explain?
As a succinct answer to your question would be yes. Peace can be found. Equanimity can be achieved through, as it has been written, being true to thine own self. Your internal connection to the light of your own soul is the most important thing for you to nurture and to cultivate. It allows you to stand in a place and live according to the principles you know to be the truth of your own understanding, and maintaining a course of experience, maintaining your way of being in the world, living as closely as you can in alignment with your own inner compass, can be challenging and often misunderstood. And yet, if you are able to maintain that connection despite whatever may come at you, you can achieve a level of peace and comfort of self that will allow you to then not be burdened or battered by any external factor or force.
Thank you. What happens when we foster self-discipline and maintain focus and control over our actions?
We earlier used the example of the Christian who flagellated themselves as a means of becoming closer to God. And in that same example, the person who was so comfortable with how their situation was currently that they became lazy. So again, the middle path would be discipline of self. and yet not in an extreme way on either end. If you are able to be mindful of your actions and observant of your reactions, and then gently discipline yourself as you go about your day, this does lead to change of a permanent nature. It requires small, incremental shifts in your awareness and your intention on a daily basis, and yet over time, like the water that drips on the rock until a hole is made, that same self-discipline, meted out in a regular way every day, can lead to dramatic change. You are each a disciple of your soul. To discipline the human aspect of your being allows you to come more in alignment with the light of your own soul.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Can you explain why it is key to remain open to new ideas and experiences?
You have come here to learn and grow, and therefore it is imperative that you, at the human level, foster openness with your exploration of new ideas, new ways of being, new ways of thinking. Without the flexibility of at least considering a position that is foreign to whatever philosophy you currently hold, without that flexibility, there would be no growth. And therefore, it is imperative that you allow yourselves to think outside of whatever the limitations of your self-made mental boxes are. At least take off the lid and allow some new light to shine in on the dark spaces, hopefully illuminating something that has been lying dormant, waiting to be rediscovered. If you are not open to these new concepts or ideas, and you will not allow yourself, your own soul memories, to be triggered in this way, we would encourage such openness of mind in order to bring about more rapid change.
Yes, thank you. Can you elaborate on this quote from great Stoic Marcus Aurelius? Quote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature." End quote.
More succinctly put, the quality of our lives is governed by the nature of our thoughts. If we are not mindful of what thoughts our brain is currently programmed to produce, we continue along the same vein. If, however, you begin to discipline yourself to monitor the thoughts that you are having on a daily basis, and especially if you discover that most of the thoughts that you are having are like the Christian with the whip, detrimental to your own well-being or your own feelings toward yourself. If you become mindful that they are harmful, you then have the power to discipline yourself and reprogram those circuits in a way that allows you to generate more uplifting vibrations through the thoughts that are being produced by your brain. So it is an active process that you can engage in to literally reprogram your mind. This will then lead to more happiness in your life because you will be less unhappy with yourself. You will not be expressing that unhappiness towards yourself, which will then lead you to more peace, so that you can be at peace with how you are and be authentically accepting of all of what you may perceive as your flaws as well as your virtues. We often see that humans are extraordinarily harsh with themselves, and this often is then projected outward onto others who have no bearing on that situation at all. Just think for a moment how much discord in this world would be alleviated if every being took charge of and cared for the very own thoughts they harbor in their mind.
Yes, that is a thought to behold. Thank you. And thank you again for being here today. Do you have any final words that you would like to share?
Being human, especially at this time on this world, is no easy task. Seek to develop a steadfast and faithful relationship with yourself, with your being. Then find others with whom you can gather and support without judgment or accusation. This builds your light, and that light goes out into the world, which is in such need of peace and understanding at this time. And it can change things. Be not afraid that you are without the capacity to make a difference. Each and every one of you, as we said earlier, is a point of light, and you do not understand the true power of that light because you identify so thoroughly with your human form. Allow yourself to disengage your strong identifications. Allow yourself to focus more on the aspect of you that is the light that streams through your physical form, that animates that form. In the final analysis, we hope that you understand that we are always here with you, that together, you and I, we are one, and we do hold great love and deep admiration for each and every one of you. We are grateful for this opportunity to share our perspective, and these are our words for today.
Many thanks.
Well, that's our time for today. I want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to support this podcast. If you found value in this episode, please share it with 2 other people so that together we can bring more light to this world. If you'd like to know more about what it is that I offer with my classes and my consultations, please visit my website at juliamarie.us. Until next time, please continue to shine your light diamond bright.